What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. A lot of y'all been asking me about timecode, how to use it, what tools should you get, what timecode do I recommend. So I'm dropping my timecode workshop that was inside the JPM Live Academy right now. So get your pen and paper out because y'all finna learn timecode, baby. We finna be timecode experts. This is something that I get a lot of questions about in terms of how am I able to sync my audio, how's it work, or can you use it with mixed frame rate, which is a really, really popular question. And I'll touch on it a little bit later. And so today, like I said, I really want you guys to know exactly how to get started, what products I recommend, and how to go from buying your timecode today to implementing it in your workflow, filming the day of the wedding, and then editing in post. So to get started, what exactly is timecode? So I got some little things that we're gonna be looking at, which is gonna be the Deity TC-1. They are not sponsoring this video, but there's a lot of things that I like about the Deity that's gonna have me kind of favor you guys this direction more. Now, if you know me, you know I get excited about products that work. That's the simple bottom line. I don't take a lot of endorsements. I don't try to push products on you because it's the latest and greatest. If it works and it helps, with the workflow and it helps you, get better at what you're trying to do, that's when I get truly excited about it. The TC-1, before this, most timecode devices are about 300, let's say 350 for one box, which is a lot when considering you need a timecode device for every camera. The whole benefit of timecode is just a really reliable clock. That's all it is. It's a time-based system that plugs into all of your cameras, all of your audio recorders, all your audio devices, and it allows you in your editor, also known as an NLE, but I'm not gonna get technical. I just saw that on YouTube and I wanted to say it. But anyways, it's basically in every editor, there's a way to sync based on waveform, which is how 90% of us have been doing it, where you go in there, you right click, you hit sync based on sound, you wait for forever, and then you find out that it didn't sync because either you weren't close enough or the sound didn't match up, and then you gotta spend all this time listening and dragging and trying to pull it in. Timecode eliminates that. Timecode is a clock, and every single device is reading the same clock, no matter what. So your camera 1, your camera 2, even right now in the live setup, we're running timecode on all 3 cameras as well as the ATEM switcher. So everything, when it's time to edit, we click one button and boom, it all matches up. The way that this looks and the way that you read timecode is based on hours, minutes, seconds, and then frames. And you'll see that it only counts up to the amount of frames that you have your timecode set in. I'll touch a little bit on this later and talk about frame rates and mixed frame rates, 30 frames per second, 30 frames per second, drop frame, etc. But if you look here, I don't know if you're gonna be able to catch it, but it's only counting up to 23 before it resets. That's because I have my timecode set to 23,976 or 24 frames per second. One thing I wanna let you know is that every single device, no matter what it is, mic, camera, recorder, a Zoom F6, a camera like a Panasonic S1 or S1 or S5 or S1H, everything has to have the same frame rate, period. If you're filming with your timecode set to 23,976, but your camera actually shoots at true 24, like most cinema cameras, then your timecode is going to drift. You're not gonna match up, especially the longer you've been running timecode. Drift, real quick, is just a fancy way of saying lag. That's all that means. When you sync timecode and you experience drift, instead of the words matching, you're gonna get stuff where it's like, you that. Stop that. That's right. And then you're gonna be mad because you don't know where in the track the audio is, whether it's behind or in front. You're gonna be annoyed with it. Drift only will really occur with almost every timecode device that's out there. You're only gonna experience a noticeable drift after running the timecode for over 72 hours. Now, I don't know about you, but even my productions are not going that long at once. Once you cut timecode off, charge it up, you start a new fresh jam the day after, everything's gonna stay perfectly in line. A typical 12 to 14 hour shoot, I have never experienced any drift. The only time I did was when I accidentally set my URSA to 24 frames per second and I had my timecode set to 30 frames per second. And in that case, nothing's gonna sync because you're almost 4 frames behind and it's just from the jump going to continue to drift. Not only that, but most cinema cameras won't even detect timecode unless it's in the same format. And I'll show you that when we go to jam sync devices like the Zoom F6 or even like the pocket recorder like the Deity BP-TRX. Now that we know what timecode is, now it's time to get into what devices I actually recommend. What devices should you go out and buy today and build your kit? And there's a lot of things out there that will easily look intriguing.
The reason I like Deity is because they're really innovative in terms of what they offer with all their products. Not only that, they seem to beat every single manufacturer that's out there. The Deity BP-TRX is a Swiss Army knife for audio recorders, for pocket recorders. This thing came in at 250 bucks. The next thing to it that even does some of these features is almost $1,800 from Zaxcom. This is to show you that Deity is very similar to like Blackmagic, where they want to give you the best product that they can and not try to just break the bank because they know that filmmakers need it. Blackmagic is also notorious for just giving you more features than what you actually pay for, like a Pocket 6K or an Ursa Mini Pro, etc. Deity is the same way. The Timecode devices, even if you started with one, starts at about $180. And I know some of y'all are like, wait a minute, bro. That's way out of my budget. Trust me, I see y'all posting. I see a lot of people out here buying new lenses, new cameras, new microphones. None of that matters unless you can make your post-production process more efficient. That's the whole benefit of Timecode. If you're syncing based on waveform and you're trying to go get 15 mics, 10 mics, like I hope you do in the future, there's no way to make this work without Timecode. You're not gonna spend all the hours combing through different audio tracks, mother of the bride, the groom, best man. You're not gonna do it. Syncing based on Timecode is just gonna expedite everything, make it truly easy. The Deity TC-1, the reason I prefer this over, say, the Tentacle Sync, which I think is the most, is probably the closest in terms of competition that's out there. Other than that, what I was using was the UltraSync 1, now purchased by Adamus, and it's a great Timecode device. I still have them, but they're falling apart. The build quality is not the best. They're just old devices that haven't been updated, and they're almost 300 bucks, where, like I said, the Deity comes in at 179. It's a crazy steal. Before I go through the full walkthrough of the Deity, I wanna let you know that you'll need one Timecode device for every camera, even if it's a cinema camera. My Ursa Mini Pro has a dedicated Timecode port. However, it does not have a Timecode or accurate Timecode clock. Even Arri Alexas don't have accurate Timecode clocks. So you have to have one of these plugged into your camera at all time. Because when you cut your camera off, swap a battery, sit down and eat dinner, you cut the camera back on, if you're relying on that internal clock, you're already gonna be 10 to 15 frames behind. Having one plugged in, every time you kick it on, it's reading the Timecode directly from this device. I'll get into this later, but even devices like my Panasonic S5 that doesn't technically support Timecode, there are workarounds where you can record Timecode as an audio file and do some magic in post to update it as metadata, no matter what editor you're using, thanks to Tentacle or DaVinci, and be able to utilize Timecode no matter what camera. So cameras like any Panasonic mirrorless camera outside of the S1H that actually supports Timecode, you'll need to record it as an audio file. All of your Sonys up to the FX3, you'll need to record your Timecode as an audio file. And majority of the Canon cameras, like the R6, I believe the R5 actually supports it. Don't quote me on that. If you have that camera, I would easily just Google it, look it up on B&H, and you'll know if it supports it. If it doesn't have a dedicated Timecode port, then you'll have to record as audio file, and we'll show you that in a little bit. So let's look at the Deity TC-1. Right out of the gate, the reason why I like this, and very similar to like the Tentacle Sync, they both offer like a crazy long battery life. The Tentacle Sync E, not the Track E. The Sync E is the Timecode device. They look almost identical. The Track E is the audio Timecode recorder. To clarify, I do recommend the Sync E. I don't recommend the Track E. The reason, it all boils down to battery life. The Tentacle Sync Track E, the audio recorder, only has about a 10-hour battery life, whereas the Deity BP-TRX recorders that also support Timecode last up to 25 hours. You're probably thinking like, bro, I never have my audio on for more than 10 hours, but trust me, with this style and with the setup, you're gonna have everything jammed and ready to go the second you step foot into the venue. So you're gonna need battery life that lasts more than 12 hours. Most of my Timecode devices by the end of the night are reading 14 hours, including my audio recorders. That's why I don't recommend the Track E. Emphasis on track versus sync. Track E, audio recorder. Sync E, Timecode device. The Tentacle Sync also supports an app, just like Deity. The only difference, and the thing that I love the most, and the thing that I hate about a lot of manufacturers nowadays, is that everyone's going to an app. Most of these manufacturers are forcing you to use the app in order to control the device. When you're running and gunning at a wedding, I don't know about you, but I got a million things that's on my list of to-dos. the last thing I need to do is try to pull out my phone, sync it, make sure that the audio is jammed. That just leaves so many errors or room for errors, like the app doesn't load, or your phone's running too hot, or your battery dies. Anything can happen. You can't even use your tentacles unless you have the app available. The Deities come with an on-built screen. It's an OLED display that you can see basically anywhere, shows you your time code. You can actually pull all of your devices once they're synced and know for a fact that everything is in sync and you're running the same time code. This is extremely helpful because you don't have to guess. You don't have to worry about if this is running. Did you sync it in the app? Is the app still working? Do you need to go into it? You don't have to worry about that. Though it does support an app, you still can use this and verify all of your settings right from here. Both jamming time code, receiving time code, and with cameras like mirrorless cameras, exporting time code on the left track and recording scratch audio, which is the key to this. Because a lot of you probably don't have a cinema camera that has a dedicated timecode port. This actually, the TC-1 will actually record scratch audio with this built-in microphone. I think you guys can see it in the top down. So it has a built-in microphone here, and this actually will let you record audio, scratch audio, ambient sound to your right channel and timecode to your left channel. And that's extremely helpful for cameras like the Panasonic or any lineup of cameras that don't actually support timecode or have a timecode input. So Carlos, he said, is there a noticeable drift between 24 and 23.9? Yes. If your device, if your camera, for example, my Pockets, the FX3s, they all have the ability to record true 24 frames per second. If you're not sure, I would Google it. A lot of manufacturers, like even in the Panasonic, it shows up as 24. In the menu, it shows 24. It's actually recording 23.976. I'll show you how to easily check. You can record in a 24 clip. I'll show you how to easily check in DaVinci if it's 24 or if it's 23.97, because it does matter. If you record in 24 versus 23.976, it will sync, but it will be, the longer that it's been recording, the longer the drift is gonna be. So let's say hour 1, you probably won't notice a difference. But by the time the ceremony shows up, your audio is gonna be about 10 to 15 frames behind. You can fix that in post, but it's best to alleviate the issues by having everything set appropriately. And you're always gonna go based on your cameras. All audio recorders that support timecode, all of them, even the timecode devices, they're gonna give you what's known as SMTPE. Don't quote me on that. It's like fancy name for the system of timecode. That's gonna allow you to shoot in 23.976, 24, 25 PAL, 29.97, and then 30 frames per second, both in drop and non-drop frames. I'm not gonna get too technical with it, but the biggest thing is if your camera, if you're shooting in 30 frames per second and it's recording at 29.97, your timecode must match that. No exceptions. So every camera, no matter what it is, Ursa, Arri Alexa, Red, Monstro, 8K, whatever the camera is, you need a timecode device for that camera that will stay plugged into it the entire duration of your shoot. Cannot stress that enough. Every single camera must have its own timecode device. Even jamming it and letting it sync for a second and unplugging it, it is going to drift. And I promise you, when you get into post and you're trying to be quick and edit, it's gonna take you way more time to go backwards to fix it than if you just purchase one for every device.
All right, so y'all should be timecode experts by now, but in a slight chance you're not, leave them in the comments below. And until the next video, y'all keep creating, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.